Okay. So which side did I give you? I think. Okay, and then this one. And this one. Those are the current logos. Ooglo logos. Let's see. Okay. Oh my goodness. Why? Where is... Oh. I'm soaking. There it is. So, I've been relatively sick. Relatively sick all week. And, you know, it's been almost 2 weeks now that I've been sick. I'm still a little sick. You know, I've totally run out of money. Which is pretty weird. I mean, I guess it's not necessarily the first time that I've totally run out of money, but it's... There, can you see me a little bit better? Yeah, not the first time I've totally run out of money, but this time it feels exceptionally weird. I don't know why it feels exceptionally weird. But in the meantime, it feels weird because I haven't been able to push forward with the toy. I'm so excited, though. It's because it's like I've got an addiction. So they say with gambling addicts that they feel really relieved when they lose all their money and they don't have any. Now, I don't feel that way, but not having any money. Okay, I did a silly thing where I had the toy, and then I wanted to get involved. I wanted to distribute the toy. I wanted to distribute the toy, but I knew I didn't have enough to make that happen. So I tried to make the app. And in making the app, I spent money on something that everybody didn't like because it was, this is the thing, I try to do a quick fix, a band aid, and the band aid never works. So that wasn't a good idea. Doing the band aid thing, mm-mm-mm. So then I don't have enough money to actually move forward on the toy when I said, no, okay, there are a couple things to this. I could say I should never have done the mobile game for Oglo, but on the other hand, it was nice to see the hateful reaction towards the game. People said, "Hey, make the toy, don't make this stupid app." And I sort of said, okay, that's cool because I prefer making the toys over the apps. I mean, I don't feel like a programmer or anything. I mean, I don't know how to make CAD or any CAD or any electronics or code in C++ for electronics either, but nevertheless, I enjoy doing that a little bit more. I'm really tired. I've been sick, and then I went to this Army Future Soldier training thing, and I'm wiped out. But I said I was going to. I mean, I said I was going to play test the game, but nobody seems to really enjoy the play testing, which I'm sad about because I really wanted to play test with people. Nevertheless, when it comes to Oglo, I'm definitely working towards that. I have no money, so I can't push for it. In the meantime, I'm trying to work on the logo, like I showed in the beginning. But something I saw some interesting thing. What was it? What was that video? Oh god. What was that video? Um it was Oh, I know what it was. It was a Vsauce video. That guy is so good. I mean, it's I imagine not just him, but other people as well. He is so good. So smart. And then the videos that he makes, the idea that the video was said the science of awkwardness. And he knew very well that people were not clicking on that video for the science. They were clicking on that video for themselves. They were saying, I'm awkward. And so first he expressed that in the beginning of the video that he knew what those were. He showed this is an awkward moment, that's an awkward moment, and then you connected with it. Oh, yeah, I've definitely done that. I've definitely done that. And then he's going to talk a little bit about some science. He's going to use some science words. He'll use a little science data. And then he goes into why. Then it became sociological. How it's grown, a little historical background. And in the end, he wraps it up with why you really clicked on the video, which was you. You clicked on the video for yourself to find out your awkwardness. And then at some point in there, he's talked about being the main character or the side character. And I forget what this was called, protagonist syndrome or something. And he said, people. Then he gave another great moment for you to connect with. Speaking about, okay, you're in a line and you see somebody in front of you and they're taking too long. So for you, they're just a side character and they're just taking too long and they're annoying and they're an annoyance. But when you step up to the counter and you're taking too long, it's not because you're taking too long, it's because you've got this going on in your life and you have this happening and this and that. The idea that we are the center of our own universe, but really there are all these other people and they're each the center of their own universe and they're each their own main character and you're just a side character in their life. And that was really interesting because I do that for sure. I think of myself as the main character and I see other people, everybody else as being, oh, he talked about that too. Like other people are one dimensional. Most people, you're seeing other people as if they're one dimensional. They're angry, so that's their one dimensional characteristic. That's their side character characteristic in your life. And I had that issue. I see people as side characters and I'm the main character. I'm trying to make this toy. I've been trying to make toys and games. And this video hit home for me because as I try and make the toys and games, one problem I'm facing is that it's all about me making the toys and games, right? It's not really about other people. It doesn't seem to be about other people. Even though I'm making the toys and games for other people to buy, for some reason, and I guess that's where playtesting comes from. How do you get out of you being the main character versus how do you look at other people as if they're main characters rather than side characters? Is it even possible? Are there so many people that you're looking at? You'll maybe, I made this video with this title, I'm your side character, because I am a side character for others. You may pop onto this video and then pop off of the video. And in that pop on and pop off, I'm a small moment in your life, but I'm a side character in your life. Somebody had a comment on the video that was like that. It was an amazing comment. It said something like, I'm the side character. I'm just a small side character in your, and they got it. Really awesome. My legs hurt so bad from the workout, or they don't really hurt necessarily, but I can feel the soreness. Anyway, so play testing and trying to drive and be. I've always found empathy to be really hard. Even though I'm just a person as well, and I should be able to say, well, other people are dealing with whatever I'm dealing with. But nevertheless, I don't really know how. I don't know. There are two parts of this. One is how do I address the toys and games in a way where I can take into consideration other people? It's really hard. It's you design something, and how do you tell if other people are going to like that thing or not? I don't really know. How am I going to tell if somebody else is going to like the toy? I have to build it. Can I know that if I like the toy, other people will like the toy? And then it gets hard because then it becomes a bias. It's obvious it's my toy, so then I like the toy. I don't know if you've ever had an idea like this is $1 million idea. Then you try and go and tell somebody else about the $1 million idea, and they say, "Wow, that is a terrible idea." And you get defensive, and you're like, "You know what? You suck. You don't even know. I know this is a great idea." One of those situations. So you're making the toy. Here I am. I built it. I think it's cool. Is it really cool? I don't know. What happens when you make something that is really cool, but then it's not really recognized as being cool? Or is that the indicator that it is not cool at that point? Anyway, so this Vsauce video of this guy I think his name is Michael Stevens, saying that you're a side character. You're the main character of your life. You're the side character of other people's lives. And then me saying there are bunches of main characters here, and I have to somehow build something that a main character wants to play. I'm not building for side characters. And I've found that the internet is not helpful in this, because you can go online and you can see bunches of people. Is the internet dehumanizing? I mean, is it like sometimes I just scroll through, just keep scrolling and say, "Oh my, doing things. This is when see the enormous," and then they look like side characters. I'm the main character. I'm just consuming. I don't even know these people. Are they even real people? I don't know. Anyway, so then it comes to I gotta make a toy. It's not about making a game to, I don't know how to say this exactly. And I'm just going to rant and keep going, and maybe I'll come to a conclusion here. But here's something about side characters, data. And this goes back to the scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. I make a game, and then I put the game out there, and then why do I even care about feedback? I just put things, detectors into the game so that KPIs, so I can check and see, and then I just follow what the data is. I don't even care if, to me, in this scenario, you're all just side characters, and I'm just collecting your little side character data. I don't want to do that, but I see that happening a lot. Like Candy Crush, you're telling me Candy Crush, you're not just a side character, and Candy Crush's 1 billion downloads? You're definitely a side character, and Candy Crush's 1 billion downloads. Anyway, making a toy for a main character. I'm making a main character's toy. That's what the thought was behind this. Making the main character's toy. You are a main character, not me. I'm a side character. You come onto, again, you pop onto the video, and then you pop off of the video. I'm the side character, but I'm also a main character. What do I deserve as a main character is then what I'm asking myself. What do I deserve as a main character? You guys might be, I don't know if you're. Okay. What do I deserve as a main character? Now, this becomes, okay, again, and I don't know if this is main character or side character thought process, marketing. And then you're supposed to look at the audience. Okay, so I'm looking at the audience. Okay, I'm gonna make a. Well, I don't want to use this jelly. It's been sitting out. No, I will use that jelly. Yeah, I'm gonna use that jelly. So, come over here. You guys can come over while I'm making the sandwich. Can you see my eyes? How do they look? Bright blue? I'm not going to be able to talk and make this at the same time. This toaster that I have is like, see now, the thing here is that I'm not toasting it to oblivion where it's crunchy, because then it's going to shred my mouth. And I don't know if you've ever had a sandwich where you bite into it and then all of a sudden the roof of your mouth is absolutely gone. But I'm not living my life like that. Okay, you can live your life like that. And here's the other technique. You do not jelly first. Never jelly first. I mean, no, I take that back. You never peanut butter first. You always jelly first. This stuff is great. This is blueberry. Oh no, is it wet? No, it's good. It's fine. We're okay. We're gonna make it through. I watched a movie about a DJ, a radio DJ. They said, don't ever have any, what they call it, blank air, empty air, dead air. That's what they called it. They said, don't ever have any dead air. You got to always be talking. And he was doing a rap type thing and never stopping the talking. And you got to keep talking. I'm trying to do it right now. I guess sound effects work too. Sound effects are okay, but dead air is not okay. Saying things. When how you guys, are you ever alone all by yourself? That's usually what alone is. And then you've got the world solved in your brain, right? You say everybody's a fool. I know exactly what to do. If somebody just gave me the reins, I would know what's going on. And then the moment you're in the position where somebody asks you what's the right move, you go blank, or somebody puts a camera on you and you freeze up. I don't like that. I wish I was cool enough where I didn't have that situation. Okay. I like the idea that you just come on here and you have no idea where all of this is going, where it came from. Nothing makes really particularly any sense. Here's some dude in a house. He just made a sandwich. He made a sandwich. I don't know if he made a sandwich. I didn't see the sandwich. Then he's eating a sandwich and he's talking about eating the sandwich. The internet. I don't know. I guess we're popping in and out of lives all the time, though. Which goes back to the toy making and the side character and main character realization is that you have to think in all perspectives here. You have to understand that there's somebody out there who's a main character eating a sandwich. You don't know what kind of sandwich it is, but they're the main character of their lives. And the rest of the world is the side character. So as I'm building this toy, I'm thinking now with this new perspective change, what does a main character want? I'm a main character. I'm the main character in my life. I don't even know who you are. You're a side character to me. And I know that might hurt your feelings, but I'm a side character to you. And what do we want as main characters? And I guess that's where the whole marketing situation comes in. You're trying to define an audience. Are you trying to define, I don't like the marketing. I don't like defining an audience. To me, it feels dehumanizing. This is the second time I've used that word now. And it just doesn't feel right to me. It feels wrong. Oh, look, here's a group of people. They're not really, I can just categorize them. You're not Johnny Sue with like a life. You're a male between the ages of 30 and 35 with a blue collar job in middle America, I don't know, living in this part of Texas doing this thing. I don't know. That doesn't feel like, there is something about that feels very strange and off-putting. I don't know if the business really cares about that, though. Nevertheless, main character stuff. This is what I want in a game or in a toy. And this is what I'm trying to build Oglo around. This is my problem with something like Bop It or Simon. Okay, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing, and you just do it. And there's one thing, gosh, I don't know. Like, then you start to say, what's a toy and what's a game? And then I'm trying to make a game, not a toy. But what is a toy and what is a game? Now, to me, a toy is something that you have to use some sort of imagination. And then a game is something with like a really, I guess you could use imagination, but it has a point to it, right? There's a goal. Okay, but saying there's a goal, because the point of a toy could be, the goal could be the imagination. And the moment you imagine, you've reached the goal. Anyway, back to the Simon Bop situation. So this is my problem with those. Or not my problem, I shouldn't say that. Do they fit into a main character's game or a side character's game? Not a main character game, because of how static they are, where the main character doesn't get to involve themselves in the decision making. It's sort of, to a certain degree, right? You got to memorize this, you got to bop that. I'm a main character. Main characters rule the world, right? I rule my world. Maybe you rule yours. I rule my world. So I want to rule the world of this thing. And Boppin and Simon don't really let me do that. It's a very closed circuit. You have to memorize this. Like the game is telling you that that's what you have to do. You have to memorize this. Bop It literally tells you what you have to do. I don't like that. The main character has to have control. The main character has to have control of the toy. So when I was first coming up with it, I first had the idea for Oglo when I was working at a Domino's. And I saw, at that point, they were making these breadsticks or bread twists. And you would have the dough, you'd cut it into 8 slices, and you'd pick up the slices, pull it apart, and do a little twist. So you would do the twist. And people love pulling it apart. People love pulling it apart. And so that's when it started. People would pull it apart different ways. People tell you, I have to do it like this. Other people do it like this. Is there a right way? Is there a wrong way? Not really. As long as it comes out, it looks like this in the end. So that's where Oglo came from. It came from being a main character. It came from the idea of somebody having control over something. There was a main goal over the thing, which was making the bread twists, but you got to do it however you wanted to do it. And that's what I wanted. It's a circle apart, but it's how you pull it apart. Yeah, there is an objective. There is these lights are lighting up, and you have to do these. You have to make sure that all 6 of the sections don't light up. But aside from that, the idea is, what is this? But aside from that, you get to choose. So do you have an overhand grip? Do you have an underhand grip? Do you have a cross grip with left hand over top or right hand over top? Are you are you holding it? Are you holding it right out in front of you? Are you holding it to the side? Do you hold it down here? Do you hold it in front of your face? So that's what I think a main character is all about. The main character has got this control. Simon, you placed it down on the table in the original. Bop It, you were forced to hold it with one hand, and you were probably going to bop it with your dominant hand. So it didn't really open up your ability to take control over the toy. Don't like that. Now, my toy Oglo is much closer to whack-a-mole. It's like whack-a-mole if the moles didn't go back down into their holes, and every time they got faster. That's Oglo in a nutshell. In my original version, I had, it looked like it was stretchy. And I wanted to do that to simulate the dough being pulled apart like you would do at Domino's for the bread twist, which the toy was based off of. And after designing it a couple different ways, I couldn't figure out how to get rubber around it. And eventually I went and used a spring. And now I'm realizing that, okay, spring is cool, but to get that main character, to get everybody to feel like they're a main character, to get people to feel like this is their toy, like it's not just main characters and side characters, it's a main character. Main character gets control over that toy. So I'm going to make this toy with this stretchy stuff. You can either use a spring or you could use stretchy stuff, whatever type of stretchy stuff. Maybe you get different types of stretchy stuff. I would probably have to supply those other types of stretchy stuff so that, people aren't going to figure it out, do that themselves. They might be main characters, but when you're making the product, you got to make it easy for them to feel like the main character for the toy. And so what I would like for the stretchy part is there to be different, I don't know how I would describe this, but like weights. If you had a rubber band and there's 6 different rubber bands, and one of the rubber bands is easier to stretch than other rubber bands, what would you say? What would you call that? I don't know. Anyway, so what I would like to do is have over these 6 different lights, have each lit section have its own weight of stretchy. And for that rubber band, people said something really interesting online about the rubbery idea. And they said, or a few people, not everybody, but a few people said, it probably will wear out. And that's true. And that's a good reason to make it so that people can take the rubbery parts off so they can replace them. But also, it's about configuration. So it becomes a toy where, and this was a problem with this is a problem I have with Oglo, and this problem, with Simon and Bop It. There's no configuration for the main character to figure. You do your best score, you keep practicing, but I know for me, even as an adult, it gets to a certain point where I'm practicing and then I get bored with the practicing, and I don't really know what to do or how to get better, and it can get a little boring. That's how I've always felt about Bop It and Simon. So with this, you have these stretchy sections, you pull them apart, you can change them out. So let's say I've got it clockwise. The heaviest stretch, the hardest one that it is to stretch, second hardest, third hardest, fourth hardest, fifth hardest, sixth hardest. But then I say, wait a second. So I'm playing with the toy, I'm not doing very well. How do I, I've practiced, I've tried it like 5 different times. What do I do? It would be very cool if somebody could go in and replace the stretchy sections, or not replace them, but change the configuration of how their Oglo is set up. So they say, oh, I'm not going to do it like that. I'm going to do the heaviest stretchy part, the second heaviest stretchy part, the third heaviest stretchy part, fourth, fifth, sixth, in this sort of triangle pattern. And maybe you go over to a friend's house, and at the friend's house, they show you their configuration and what their high score is. And then you go home and you say, okay, I'm going to try that. Or maybe what you do is you take the rubber band, and so your friend has it like all smooth and everything, and you say, no, I didn't do it like that. I took the rubber band and then twisted it inside of my toy so that it came back together faster, or something like that. I don't know, but it gives the player the ability to really have control over the toy. It stops being Oglo, it starts being my glow. It's my toy, and I've really configured it. And something else I'd really like to have inside of the toy is Something else I really like to have it in the toy is so the parts that light up, they're I'm calling them end caps. I'd probably have to come up with a better name, like glow caps or something. I don't know. Anyway, so the end caps, I would also like to. People have said on TikTok on the some of the videos, hey, you should make it so that these sections are weighted. Now the problem with that is that maybe the shipping is going to be a little bit more challenging because things get to be more expensive based off of weight. But this goes right back to the main character configuration that you get with the rubber bands. So you get to choose, and it would be the same situation of just like the rubber bands are heavy, the hardest to stretch apart, second hardest to stretch apart, third hardest to stretch apart. This would be the heaviest end cap, the second heaviest end cap, third, fourth, fifth, sixth around the toy, and you can pull them off. So now this toy becomes something where it's a simple game, but it doesn't just rely on you needing to practice it over and over and over and over and over again, which can get a little bit boring sometimes. It also makes it feel like this isn't just a toy that I bought off of a shelf. This is a toy that I bought off the shelf and that I can make my own. And I know that after watching this Vsauce video and him talking about main character and side characters, and that you're just a side character in somebody else's life, but you're the main character of your life, I think a main character wants that control. They want to feel like this is their thing. So now you've got how do I hold the toy? How do I play with the toy? Then you've got okay, how do I have the rubber bands in here fixed and put together? How do I have the rubber bands organized? How do I have the rubber bands twisted onto into these rubber band sections? And then the end caps. How do I have the weights set up? Do I have the weights just heavy, medium, light around clockwise, or do I have it in some interesting pattern? It also opens up the possibility to different ways that the shape is distributed inside of the end cap. Like you don't have to just have one type of end cap. Maybe you have a different type of end cap than I have. Maybe I've got tiny bead. Maybe there's a version with little BBs in there. Maybe there's a version with big ball bearings in there. Maybe there's a version that has slime in there. Maybe there's a version that has water in there. Maybe there's a version that has, it goes on and on, right? So this is where, how am I going to pull all of that off? I don't know, but all of this thinking about people, who people are, who I am in relation to those people. How do I gain enough empathy to understand where people are at? How do I know when I'm not being biased? How do I know when I've made something that a main character would want to play with and not just a side character toy? Maybe all this thought, provocative thought, for myself at least, isn't really useful at all. Maybe the whole thing is futile. But it isn't, because other people are making toys. So that seems to be a thing. I really don't like the toys that I see out and about. I mean, I don't think I'd give my kids any of those toys. And it's also hard. Yeah, toys are really about learning. That's really the huge, massive piece of toys. And games. But it's definitely learning, and it's a big piece of this toy and why I'm trying to make it as much as it can be, because I would like a kid to practice not only pulling the thing apart, but also practice their own sort of iteration and manipulation of things. So it becomes this, and this stretches back. This goes to that toy and games question answer that I posed of what is a toy, what is a game? A game being something with a goal, a focus goal, maybe I should say, a focus goal, and a toy being something of imagination, where the goal is to imagine, but it's much more sandbox like. And with this game, toy, I'm trying to bridge that gap of what I think a toy and game, what a toy is versus what a game is, and say, how do I make a game that has these toy like elements, being the imagination of the toy? Now, it's obviously going to be limited, but the hope is that the toy like is that the imagination comes from I how do I think way of organizing the weights across the toy combined with my hand position. How do I figure that out? How do I figure out what the best way is? It depending on how hard depending on how hard it is to pull apart, it could also be a workout toy. But I don't want to frame it like that. I definitely, definitely, definitely do not want to frame it like that. I don't want it to be an exercise toy. To me, that will absolutely hurt the wonderful nature of the game. So I've been thinking about how do I do this replacement of end caps that light up, but also the replacement of the rubber band so kids can test and play, or adults. I don't know who's gonna do this, but who will play with the toy. I always hope that it's gonna be both kids and adults, but I'm thinking that the toy will. I want it to be clear so that you can see through. So when you pull the thing apart, it stretches. You can see the stretch of the rubber bands or the spring. And I'm thinking, how do I make a hole? How do I make holes that you can use this tool to take the spring or rubber band on and off with? How do I make holes for that look natural to the design, but also make it easy for you to get in there? But also, and now I don't know enough about manufacturing to really be able to tell if what I'm embarking on is going to be positive or cause me a whole bunch of friggin' problems in the future. But I'm thinking, and I don't know how to describe this pattern, but like an organic web. And that's what the shell of the toy will be, a clear organic web so that you can really see through it. It looks super weird and kind of futuristic, like organic futuristic. And then it'll just look like, oh, this is just a super cool looking toy. But really, those holes will be there. These gaps will be there for kids or adults or whoever is playing with a toy to be able to pull out the rubber bands or springs and change it out. That's what I'm thinking the shell is going to be. Oh, my reasoning for that was that it was also going to save on plastic. Probably lighten the toy as well. So if I can get it to be pretty light, then I can add the end caps with weights. Because this is certainly a tactile toy. If I'm saying that it's like it started off as a really tactile toy, I did it purposefully so that I'm such a freaking idiot. I don't even know why. It was these silly, just blatantly dumb attempts at doing something quick and easy. And doing something quick and easy is not the right way of going about it. That's what I've learned. And yet I can't seem to take that lesson and apply it, which is don't do the quick, easy thing because it's never quick and easy. Anyway, I designed it to be tactile. I kind of stepped away from that. And now I have to go back into it. It's one of those things where I have to make it cool enough where somebody, it has to be cool visually to work on online. But also, if I got into a toy store, it'd have to be visually, first, it has to be visually appealing enough so that you can pick it up and do the try me thing. But once you pick it up, it has to be a whoa, that's super weird. What do? I pull it apart. Oh, I pull it apart. Whoa, why does it feel so stretchy and strange? And it's weighted and you're flipping it and it's feeling like, what the heck is going on here? That's the effect that I've got to go for. Something else I was thinking about doing was, there's this whole squishy craze. I'm going to say, I don't like the squishies. I think they're dumb. I don't really get them. And that's not a toy. I refuse to accept that that is a toy. I mean, I get that little kids are buying them or getting their parents to buy them. That's not a toy. That's not imagination. To me, a toy has to inspire some sort of imagination, like that the thing helps push you to imagine something. And then the game has this very fixed end goal. I don't see where the imagination is with the squishies. Other than them being super weird and fun to squeeze, but that goes into this whole tactile thing. And me trying to make a toy game that has all these elements of a toy game, where there is some imagination in it, but there's also a fixed goal. It's just that you have to use your imagination to try and help yourself improve on that fixed goal. And I was thinking the end caps. Okay, cool idea. Have the end caps weighted so that when you're flipping and spinning the toy around, it's kind of going everywhere. And oh, it's heavier on that end and it's kind of pulling me this way. But I was also thinking and I don't know how to do this, and I don't know if it's really possible, but getting squishy end caps, so that when the end caps come together, right now it's hard plastic, so they come together and they're the same every time. And then I'm thinking if they're squishy, then they come together and they sort of mush, and it changes how the slightly how the toy is held together. Although now that I think about that, that could be pretty wearing on the plastic components and also the rubber bands on the inside. Or it doesn't have to be just rubber, but rubber bands on the inside that are holding the thing together. I have to stop myself too, because I start to get a little too much and it's like, whoa, can you do how about you just start with getting the thing out at all? Yeah. But back to the Vsauce video and the main character, side character. I think that's what a main character wants. I think that's what a person is shooting for. They really want to feel some control over something. It's nice once in a while to get a side character toy, play with a little bit. Okay, here's a Bop It. That's fun. I really need something that becomes mine. I'm the center of my universe. I'm the main character. I need a main character toy. I hope I can even accomplish any of this. I've been looking at these manufacturers and just how am I going to do it? Oh my gosh. If you look up how much a steel mold is, so expensive. It's it can go from a steel mold can go from $20,000 to $100,000. Like, what the heck? Okay, that's a lot. Now, how do I start with not that and something that's cheaper? 3D printing. You might think, okay, 3D printer. No. No, 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 no. 3D printing. First off, 3D printing, how the strength is with the 3D print. They're not because it's extruded out, not as strong as it could be. So it becomes somewhat dangerous and it cracks and it can be brittle and it's a little more annoying than resin 3D printing is pretty good. Expensive though. Best used for prototyping. That's what I've found at least. And then it becomes, how do I do any of this? Is the mold too complicated? I don't know if that's going to be an issue. That's another problem. I have to learn a little bit more about to what extent is a part too complex. Huh. To what extent is a mold too complex? I imagine that the molds can be pretty much anything. But I guess that's not the point. The point is, from what I've heard or looked up, when it comes to the molds, the smaller the area is that the plastic has to be injected into, the more pressure it needs. Now, I don't know how that applies to somebody. I don't know how that applies to the cost of one of these. I imagine what happens is if you have something complex, a mold that's very complex with lots of little channels, they have to use a much bigger machine that then requires much more pressure and power, and then that's how it becomes more expensive. So, I could be thinking, oh, it looks cool, and I'm cutting down on plastic costs, but then it could turn out that it bites me in the ass, and that the cost, because I've made the channel so small and now it requires more pressure, they have to use a bigger machine and now it's going to cost me more. I don't really know. And I don't even know if that's something to worry about. I mean, one thing I have found is that it looking really cool and getting people to even look at it is so friggin' hard that that's something that you really have to be focused on. So maybe I say it doesn't really matter. I call it designer toy, make it however make it the dream look, and then concern myself with the other stuff from there. Or maybe I don't. Or maybe none of this is an issue and it turns out that this idea is totally fine. Don't know. Although if I go to an industrial, this company that I'm looking at right now to make this thing happen, they clearly understand this, which is nice because it's helped me learn this this like stepstone system of how I'm going to build the toy out. They have these they tell you on there like what kind of molds they have. Oh, they do this type of plastic molding where they I think it's like they vacuum seal, and then you can inject the plastic into there. I'm not totally sure, but from what I've looked up, that system is the cheapest. So they clearly have an understanding that to start up doing this, unless you're a large company that somehow knows like we're really going forward with this thing, then you can just get right into the steel mold and start to pump them out. But you got to start small, cheap, get a couple, get a few more, get a couple more, get a few more, and each time you're getting more and more and more, you can start to incrementally get the nicer sturdier molds. I have to do it. I mean, I can't believe I even stopped doing it. I took this 2-3 year hiatus. I don't even know why I did that. That was so friggin' silly. That was so friggin' silly. I should have never taken the 2-year hiatus. I should have just stuck with it. I gave up. And I gave up. And I'm sad I gave up. I gave up. I didn't believe. I lost a self-belief. Or maybe I didn't lose self-belief. Just disheartened by the fact that I got Spin Master to tell me whatever they told me, that I needed to sell $750,000 worth of units. I was disheartened that I went and found a different broker and that they also were not able to get other people to that he wasn't able to get other people to join in. Oh, we got some attention from Moose Toys. Attention's okay. I tried to move forward a little bit afterwards. I tried to get set up with a PCB board and make it happen, and then I don't know what it was. I don't know why I was struggling so much to get that together, but I gave up in the end. And I said, you're getting so many inputs from other places, which is insane because I had everything. I don't even know why the inputs I was getting, and I don't know why I gave up on myself. I should have never given up on myself. I was too old to be having others influence me so much. But I guess others influence people throughout their life. It's not just young, middle age, or old. At some point, you just say, no, I know exactly what's going on. That probably doesn't happen. But, Matt New CCO seemed like a cool guy. But looking back now, I don't think the best plan, his advice to me was, you make your toys are good, but you should make a franchise. You should make a character series. That's really where the money is. Okay. Totally get it. That's really where the money is. And some people fall into making that character series, but I wasn't making the character series. I was making whatever I was making. And it's a bit of a challenge to say, hey, pivot from what you're doing here to do something over here. By golly. That's pretty rough to tell somebody to pivot like that. So then I thought, well, I don't really want to pivot from the toys to a character. And then at some point, my brother had told me, hey, you should buy these like penny teddy bears off of Alibaba or something. And I thought, okay, Oglo, at that point, I called it a failure, which is crazy because it wasn't a failure, but I'll get to that. Okay, I'll call Oglo a failure, and then I'll switch up. Matt is telling me that I should make a character series, and then my brother's idea of just try and sell anything, make a plushie. Which, okay, whatever. Didn't believe in myself when it came to the toy, so then I'm going to switch over to making these plushies. But I'm determined to make my own plushie. Which, here on YouTube, I was doing some stuff and I got followers, subscribers who said, hey, I want to buy one. So that was really cool. And then again, I gave up. Oh, it was too expensive. I didn't really know how to do this. I wasn't going to be able to sell that many. Oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? By golly, dude, I'm the totally capable of accomplishing something and yet going to give up for whatever reason. Anyway, in the end, I don't think I should have never given up on Oglo anyway. The plushies were okay, but it wasn't something that I didn't care as much about it as I did with the toy. And rather than, hey, we can't seem to sell it, you should pivot. I think, and it's nothing on yet. No, that's not true. I'm not going to say that. Forget that. It was terrible advice all around. It should have been, and I don't know why I needed this, but it should have been, hey, you've got millions of views on TikTok. You have got millions of views on TikTok. At that point, the toy was, I had written up a PPA, so it was patent pending or provisional patent application, so I could get it set up to be patent pending. I had the millions of views. I had the patent pending status. I had some interest from various toy companies. They didn't go for it, but I had interest. Like there was something there. And for whatever reason, I wish somebody had just said, hey, you've got an audience. That's very cool. You've already made it very far. Why would they say to pivot? Why would they say to pivot? And why did I pivot? When that thing was the thing already, there it was. It should have been, hey, what you've got the audience, you've got the thing, you just got to take it the rest of the way. This is it. Now, in my meeting with Spin Master, the guy who gave the meeting, he told me, and it was awful to hear. This is so awful to hear. You've taken it so far. You've got all the things. And when you hear this, which was, you need to sell $750,000 worth of units. $750,000 worth of units. You need to sell $1 million units. $1 million worth of units. Not 1 million units. $1 million worth of units. That, after all of this, that was so rough to hear. Because, I was looking for a licensing deal. I was looking for a licensing deal. I was trying to design the toys. I wasn't trying to design, sell, and build the toys. At the time, that was my thought. That this is how I'm trying to get into the business. And boy, so But that was the truth. The truth was I have to sell $750,000 worth of units. That sucks. That friggin' blows. You don't want to hear that. Definitely don't want to hear. Because, okay, this is where I was at that point. I'm hearing this. I get off the meeting, and then I turn to my roommate at the time when I was going to Stony Brook University. And I'm like, dude, they want me to sell $750,000 worth of units. At that point, why do I even need them? If you sold $750,000 worth of anything, maybe you have, I don't know. Wouldn't you be, well, dang, I'm already pretty much a millionaire and I did it by myself off of this stuff. That's pretty cool. To me, I was like, that sounds crazy because I basically have a toy company there and I'm just going to keep pumping along and making my thing. I mean, now I don't even have to listen to anybody. I can just, because you're going to have some profits if you're making that, right? If you're making $750,000, maybe you're not making a huge profit. Maybe you sold the $750,000, but you only made, heck, if I could do that and I came away with $20,000, those are some bad margins, but nevertheless, if I came away with 20,000, I'd be proud of myself. Well, but there we go. I guess that's it, right? That's it. That's maybe what he was telling me. And maybe that's why people are doing the licensing, because then you realize, oh, dang, I only came away with $20,000. I didn't really make that much money off of this. So I could have answered my question right there, that is the situation and that they want to see some success and then they can take it to the next level. Nevertheless, I don't think that you would only make 20,000 off of $750,000. I think you'd probably be making more than that. I mean, it's not that hard to run the numbers, right? And to go slowly and get there. And probably at that point, now I don't know what the timeline is. You didn't give me a timeline of you have to sell this within a 1-year period. Or maybe I just don't remember. I don't know. But I imagine that once you're at that point, once you've even worked up to that point, you've got a volume going to the point where you probably are making pretty good margins. It all rolls back to, that friggin' sucked. But that was the best advice I got. And that was another reason why I gave up on the whole thing, was because when that's the best answer you got, you start to question all of this stuff. Because I had worked on this thing for 2.5, 3 years at this point, on the idea that if I just pushed myself hard enough and I just worked hard enough and I just got it far enough, then I could really friggin' prove, hustle. And I was ready to hustle and I was trying to hustle. And I guess the problem was I hustled. Maybe I didn't hustle hard enough. I don't know. But I hustled to what I thought my finish line was, and that wasn't the finish line. And then I was being asked to hustle even more. And that's rough. That's rough to hear. And so I gave up on that and said, well, maybe I can do here's the worst part, something easier, right? The easier thing that in the end turns out to not be easier. And it's like a time waster as well. So it's not easier and it wastes your time. Great. Perfect. Awesome. So then I moved on to Caroline, did the plushie thing. After a year of doing that, doesn't work. Then I moved on to Moving Maze, which you can go and play on my website, northsumllc.com/demo. And now I'm here. Because after I did all of that, I got a little traction with not huge, with the plushie, and then zero zilch with the game. That one was kind of whatever. It was testing out the waters. And now I'm wrapping all the way back to, wait a second, each time I post a video of Oglo on TikTok, I get hundreds of thousands of views. I get hundreds of thousands of views. Why am I not doing this? And 2 years hence, I got to have a break from Oglo and look back and say, wow, there was something here. And now here I am, and I think I'm going right back into Oglo and saying, I've had time to experiment and try these other things and they didn't work out. And I see what this space is all about, which was the video games and the plushies and everything. And me saying, I think this toy thing was it. This was flashy. This was cool. This was right. Why am I not moving back there? This is where it's also helpful when I'm on TikTok and people are reposting and reposting and reposting and saying, oh, I want this. I want this. Oh, this is cool. This is cool. This is cool. So now I'm back. Which maybe means that I didn't give up on myself. Or I didn't give up on the toy. A big lesson I learned from all of that and the giving up on myself or giving up on the toy was to absolutely never, ever, ever. And it's a little hard to say this, don't listen to other people. Don't listen to other people. And I say it's hard to say that because I think about, and I don't know who wrote it, but supposedly Socrates said, listen to older people because they can tell you in 5 minutes a lesson that took them their whole lives to learn. I've always find the problem with these sayings is that they're broad, so you don't really know. Because what happens when an older person learns a lesson that they think is correct and then it isn't correct? Or what about this? They learn a lesson that was correct for the period of time that they were in, but then they give you that same advice and you're in a different time and a different period, and that advice doesn't really work anymore. In the end, after all of this, I say I'm not listening to people. I have to I think I found the sweet spot here. I can make these toys and games. Yeah, it's hard to make the things all the way to the end, but they seem to be flashy. They seem to be nice. The video games, I watched this video about a guy talking explain he's a business marketing fella, and he's saying do the boring thing, like make soap that's really cool, make stylized soap, or make paint that's special, wall paint. Take a boring product and make that into something interesting. And when I look now, there are some cool toys, and they're designer toys. They're I don't know if the Funko Pops are cool, but they're something. Oh, this dog. I hate this dog so much. I hate this dog more than anything. Just can't stand it. Anyway, toys. Are toys interesting or are toys boring? And that's maybe the thing. There are lots of cool plushies. I don't really care for the Fugglers, but I totally get how interesting they are because they are interesting. There's another plushie like that in the 90s. It was either the 80s or the 90s. They were called like Gobblers or Gooblers or Goblins or something, and they were in these funny little cages. So, whenever I see those Fugglers, I say it looks like kind of one of that 80s 90s plushie that existed. Anyway, it's a pretty cool thing that exists. Or there's that, what's that other plushie with the plastic face on it from that Chinese company? It's called like Lulu, or gosh, I should probably know, but it has a plastic face, and I can't remember what that was called. Anyway, so those have cool toys already. Video games obviously have lots of people working really hard to make really cool things. The toys I don't know about. And I mean, I'm talking about big consumer. Maybe there are toys out there. I've seen smaller projects of toys that are very interesting, but it doesn't fit into that mass market appeal. Whereas the video games, mass market appeal, certainly they're super cool games. And yeah, toys. I just don't know where the toys fall into that. Where's the mass market appeal? Oh, they got those. That doesn't count as a toy. I'm not counting it as a toy. You can't listen to people. You can't listen to people. You can't give up on yourself. And maybe your idea sucks. My idea might suck. I mean, Olo may be really lame. That could be true. But and I totally get where you got to make money at some point and like live a little bit, do that. But what's your thing? Oh, this guy says, oh, if you really want the money, you got to do a character series. Do you want to do a character series? Oh, this guy over here says, oh, you should do the plushies, do the bears, just learn how to market and sell. Is that what you're trying to do? Is that what you're trying to do? No. Okay, I get it. You got to try and market and sell. I'm going into this phase with Oglo where I'm going into the marketing and sell. I got the thing together. It looked cool. I got the millions of views. Okay, now how do I stretch that even further and make it even cooler? How do I turn it into going further with the design, making the design way cooler? Where are the things that I'm just like I said, oh, toys I think are kind of boring. How do I make it unboring? How do I say, as an adult, how would I look at a cool toy? What would I think a cool toy is? What would bring me into something being interesting? Some toy being interesting. And in doing that, I am doing the marketing and I am doing the selling. And it's at a level that's a little bit more interesting than doing the plushie thing. It's at a level that's a little bit more interesting than a character series. Not that a character series isn't cool. I just looking at myself and where I stand against other people making character series or characters, it's not. I have some minor drawing skills, so minor that you would be hard pressed. I mean, that would be really a compliment to say that my drawing sketch skills are anything. But the people who are making those character series are really, that's what they do. It's like an artist or illustrator making a product. They're really focused on trying to make those cool designs. I've never seen myself like that, or just not thinking that I have that type of creativity or interest. Something I've always been interested in is furniture. I've always liked furniture, and I like furniture design. I like the shapes in space and how they bend and what you can do and the different ways that you can make a button. Maybe I make a twist button, a press button, a pull button, a slide button, whatever the situation is. So I think that's why I liked the toys, because it feels like an offshoot of that. And it is more complicated to do. And it isn't just character series is for money. You're trying to make franchises and licensing deals and all of this. And the other problem there is that people have got whole bunches of crew, like a massive crew of people that are doing this. It's not just you. It's like, okay, we got our cool art designer and we got the business guy and we got, I mean, how the heck are you? What is that's the other problem. People are going to give you advice. What kind of advice is that? Like I said earlier with the Socrates thing, you could listen to older people because you can learn in 5 minutes what it took them a lifetime. But the problem there, just like with the advice, is how long is this advice? Is this a lecture that you're going to give me? over the course of 3 months on your advice of how to properly go about it, or is this like a quick quip? That's what I received from the broker. A quick quip. Make a character series. Holy moly. What the heck does that even mean? In what medium? That's my first question. In what medium am I making the character series? You know, I went with plushie, but in what medium? This particular guy made Tickle Me Elmo. Well, he helped to make Tickle Me Elmo because he didn't make Elmo. He made the toy. He thought of the idea of the tickling. But some other guy came up with Elmo. So he's saying it from this, larger corporate perspective, but he has teams and licensing agreements and these already set up systems and institutions to get you to that point. And so the quick quip that I then took and spent like 2 years now trying to put together, combined with Caroline, the plushie, and then the game, turns into me trying to take, and I can be anybody. I am just an anybody. Who knows who I am? I'm just some random guy. Of what happens when you get that quick quip advice and you try to put it into action and you don't really know the full extent of what the advice is because it was just very quick and shallow. That's the best word that I could give. It's shallow advice. So at least when you do your thing and you fail enormously, you'll have a deep understanding of the whole failure, and at least it'll be freaking your failure. I think I've been struggling for a while now with this 2-year process of making, not to say that I didn't make Moving Maze, and Moving Maze is an old idea that I've had, but yeah, I think a little piece of I've been annoyed with myself because I should have just stuck with Oglo and made that thing happen rather than jump around and try to do some other thing. Which the other thing, I mean, it gave me little forays into other stuff like shipping terms, international shipping terms, and what that's all about, how to start to practice pricing and figuring out margins and how to look at that. And then the game was interesting and trying to understand what it takes to get a game together. It was a really nice, I worked with some interesting people, had some interesting interactions and team moments, which was cool. I learned from this whole toy thing where others' involvement. For example, with that, I was trying to make something with Moving Maze where I had these coloring pages, and the coloring pages, you could download them online. You could download them, print them out, color them, and then send them back to me, scan them and send them back to me. And I could implement them into the game, and you would have your art wrapped around the character. And I thought that was going to be a friggin' hit. I was like, this is so cool. And all the people that I was working on it with were also thinking that is really cool. And I had done a couple. I found some people to do it with. I found some guy on Reddit who was willing to do it, and then I was trying to show it off. I guess maybe I didn't do such a great job, but I thought people would jump on that pretty quickly. Like, oh, it's a coloring page and I can do it real quick. No, 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 no. So I learned in that moment that level of participation is a little much to be asking. You don't want people to have to participate to that extent. Of course, my question there is like YouTube when it first started. Not when it first started, but maybe a year or two into it getting a little popularity. That's putting a lot of effort in. I mean, I'm putting a lot of effort, I think, right now into doing this. I got a little tripod. I got this thing. I got the phone. I'm talking. I posted other videos. Other people put in way more effort than I'm putting in. That's interesting. And I was trying to get some sort of that participation. Of course, those guys said, I've seen some video where they're like, nobody's posting on our site. I feel kind of glum. One of the makers of YouTube. So I probably just wasn't doing it long enough. That's what's so cool about Oglo is that lesson informed me in saying, I want people to participate in this game, but now I figured out how they're going to participate. People are going to be playing with the toy. They want to be playing with the toy. They don't want to help make the toy. They want to play with the toy. When they buy the toy, they want that toy to feel like it's theirs. But they're probably more than likely willing to buy custom parts for the toy to make it feel like it's theirs, or they'll rearrange the toy to make it feel like it's theirs. It has to be a plug and play situation. I really like Moving Maze, though. I saw a video of it a little while ago. A video of me playing it on my phone. And what happens if I come down here? It looks so cool. It was definitely really interesting. I'd say it's a relatively interesting game. I think the board game definitely gets more attention. The video games are just so friggin' saturated. I think it's overwhelming. And it's somewhat of an impossible space to be in. I've never really been on Steam, but yeah, I imagine it's trying to swim through a soup. It's like mobile. I imagine Steam is similar to mobile at this point. How many games are being uploaded on there? It's got to be a lot of games being uploaded on Steam all the time. So, yeah, trying to do that was, whoa, this is a big pond that I think even big players are not. I imagine Microsoft and Sony have probably lost a lot of. Maybe they haven't. Maybe the players on Steam are into also playing those. I'm sure they're into playing some of those. But I imagine competing with Steam is pretty hard. Here's a platform, upload stuff. Yeah, how are you going to compete with that? You can go on there and find so many different options, and then it beats them out. What am I going to do? Am I going to wait for your one game, or sift through all these games? But that was a lesson, and that's very hard to try and get people to participate. It's so saturated that people have too many options, like literally too many options. I've been on Reddit and seen some people say, I have stuff wishlisted or purchased. I don't know how all of that works, but wishlisted or purchased, and I'm just not even able to get to any of them because I have so many other games to be played. So when you got so many games to get to that you should play, yeah, the competition there is pretty freaking fierce. That's why I imagine the board games are better. And versus the video game. Although that was really funny. It's all funny. When some guy commented on one of these YouTube videos and he said, "Oh, this looks more like a mobile game." Yeah. I spoke about that a long time ago. I know. Whew. I'm very tired. That one, a little sick. Two, the army stuff. Going to that training today. Freaking wiped me out. I've still got this nasally situation filling up. I was working after the workout. I was getting super sick. I thought I was gonna puke. Oh, glow. So I have a feeling I'm probably not going to tell you what. I've been telling myself I want to give up on moving maze for a while now. I've been saying, I'm just going to focus on Oglow, and then once I'm done with Oglow, I'll do something else. But here's something interesting about the saying, forget licensing. I'm not licensing to these toy companies. I'm not dealing with them. I'm sick and tired of whatever their weird, whatever situation it is with, hey, we kind of like it, but we're not going to move forward with it. Puts me in a different mindset or perspective, where I have to say, okay, if I have to do this all by myself, how do I turn this thing, which it could just be one thing. It could just be the toy, this one toy, right? But companies never work like that. How often are you seeing them pump out the same thing or this thing in a different shape or a different version? I got to do that if I want to keep the thing alive. And I guess this is far ahead in thought. But it has me thinking that Oglow is really great because I can do all these different shapes. I can do just the circle, but I can also do I could do a square, I could do a triangle, I can do this shape, that shape, these shapes, those shapes. I really have fun getting creative with the wacky wild shapes. And those are my okay, it's Oglow but in this shape, it's Oglow but in that shape, it's Oglow but in this shape. And the toy has to look really cool because then it has to feel like it is the same game in the same shape, but one that changes how you hold it, and two, it looks friggin' cool and it almost becomes a lamp. This toy lamp looking thing. But it has that feature built into it, right? Along with I want to be able to replace the rubber bands. So you maybe your rubber band breaks and you buy a new one. You could buy probably just a regular one, or you could buy an Oglow brand one. And then the end caps have different types of end caps. I would like it if the end caps not only were weighted, but they also, some of them maybe added a new challenge to the game where seeing the light is really important. So I thought it could be really cool if somehow the end caps blocked out the light, or maybe they only were shining the light, made it so that the light only shone from one side. I don't know what else other people would do. It'd be cool if other people made things for it. But so I think about that. I say that's got legs because it can keep it provides a product that can be purchased several different times. How does moving maze do that? Which is an interesting question. I mean, how does a game like Monopoly or a game like Battleship or a game like checkers or chess or a game like, all these board games, how do they still exist? How are they still being produced? Who is buying them? What's the situation? What is the um what does the life of that product look like? Maybe I'm a kid and I've got my parents and we buy the toy, but then I grow up and I leave the house and I don't have it, but I like one, so then I go out and I buy a new one. So that's how it's been purchased again. I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility. And I wonder how. So it makes me feel like that moving maze isn't a great one to go with because how is it being purchased? How is it being bought again? Because it's relatively expensive to be producing. But so is Oglo. Oglo, I can sell at a premium. I've been working on Oglo with the little squares and everything. I mean, that was a long time ago. I still have to paint those. But I saw on Vsauce this interesting. He has these ball dice round, and he drops them, and somehow they roll, and they're facing upwards. So he cracks one open, and there's a BB on the inside, a tiny little ball bearing with these holes so that when he drops it, it becomes a weighted dice. I thought that's really cool, and that's definitely how Oglo should work. I've been trying to figure out, and I have a video of me, I think I do, I don't know, pouring these cubes into the tray and trying to organize them, and they don't really organize. They don't just fall into place, which is what I would like. I want something really simple for somebody to pick up, but also that produces a different maze each time. And I thought these are great. They've got the little weight in them, and you drop them, boom, they're spheres, so they just fall right into place, and you're done. Very cool. Probably super expensive to make those little ball bearing. But lots of toys are expensive. I mean, to make have lots of plastic pieces. So what's wrong with that? Probably not too bad in the end. This is what I do all day. I'm just swimming around in my thoughts, thinking, oh, 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 I want to do this. I want to do that. Oh, I've got this idea. Oh, I've got that idea. It's a little debilitating. Kind of, I think it slows me down, actually. Back to the don't give up on yourself and just stick with the one friggin' thing. Just go with Oglo. Just go with Oglo. Just go with Oglo. That's all you need to do. Don't do anything else. Instead, I'm jumping around, shifting my energy to who knows where, not focusing on one thing. Ugh. What a friggin' mess. What a friggin' mess. Maybe it's a long game, though. That's what I've heard. I don't know if I should believe them, though. I do feel very excited about Oglo, though. I feel excited about all of them. I've got this other idea, which, and this is one of the reasons why I was saying maybe I wouldn't do Moving Maze, even though it does bring me interest. It just goes right back into the dude, people are interested in it. Why aren't you doing it? Oh, well. Card games. A card game. It goes back into having the control, just like with Oglo. So, Pokemon, for example, is like, I hated Pokemon as a kid. I hated playing Pokemon. My least favorite, the part that I disliked the most about it, there was a coin flip section. You would play a card, and you'd read through all the stuff, and it would say flip a coin, blah 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 blah, something for some reason. And I always thought as a kid, I'm a kid. Why do I have just loose change on me or something? Isn't that ridiculous? Something about it didn't seem right. I really liked looking at them, which I think is the main pull of the whole thing. Really like looking at them. I liked looking at the attacks and the points. Not necessarily playing the game, but looking at the attacks and the points and everything. The battling didn't seem right to me. Something else I didn't like about it was they had all this merchandising for it, and I always wanted to, like, I wanted a friggin' Pokemon. I don't want to watch another episode. I don't want any more cards. I don't want to play the video game. I want a friggin' Pokemon. And they came out with those people. I was like, this is stupid. It's just makes me want more that I can't have. It always felt like there was some disjointed something or other. And I'm not saying that this idea necessarily fixes that, but there's some problem that I always had with the playing of the cards. I have this idea for a card game. It's a card game, video game, toy thing. So the name of the game is Proto Pups. Proto Pups. Like prosthetics or prototype. Mostly prototype pups. And the idea is that you're in this underground world. Background story is there are these cat overlords. And who are the enemies of cats, dogs, but also rats and mice. So the cat overlords have probably done some sort of diabolical. They've outlawed dogs, and they've done, if they capture a dog, they do some diabolical stuff to them because they don't want the dogs chasing them. And then there are the rats who the cats have outlawed the dogs. The cats still have power, but they're fearful of the dogs. So they capture some, they keep them in cages, they let others, whatever, they've outlawed them. And now there are these rats, right? And the rats, the dogs are higher up on the totem pole, the rats are at the bottom of the totem pole. So they're running away from the felines, but from the cats. But the cats they keep them corralled in the city. And the rats can't really fight back. So I haven't worked the whole thing out, but the story is going to go somewhere. There are these underground fights. They're underground dog fights. And it's where the adult rats, when they were kids, they had to go, and there was an initiation ritual where you have to go and break a dog out of this jail set up by the cats. And you break the dog out, and then you have to fix it up. So that's where the prototyping comes in, where you have to build some sort of electronic prosthetics, and you make it a fighting dog, because really these rats are setting up an army to fight back against the cats. So they've got this underground fight, but sometimes the cats sort of do weird quasi. I don't know about this part, but I like the idea of these cats doing. They know it's illegal to have these dog fights, but they also like to bet on the dog fights themselves. They enjoy watching them because they're cats and they hate the dogs, and it's this like sick pleasure that they get out of watching the two dogs fight each other. So the rat is the trainer, and they're training the dog, and they build the prosthetics. So you get these, that's the background story. And then how the card game works is you have these base cards. And I don't mean to jump around here. Back in the 70s, 60s, they would code using cards, punch cards. So I want to say it was blank, no punch was a 0, and then a punch was a 1. And I don't know if they would swipe them or stick them in, but they would have these decks of cards that they would have hole punched. And that's how they ran binary code. And I've always thought that's so friggin' cool. Now, I don't know if there would be hole punches in the cards, but nevertheless. And I guess that idea also comes with a credit card or QR code. Rather than punches, it's these different shapes, keeping the information in there. So you've got this base card, and that's your character, that's your dog, and they're different weight classes. So there's like the Chihuahua, Yorkshire Terrier. What's another one? Maybe a Dachshund. And those are the atom weights. They're the smallest weight class. And then you've got the big ones, which are Dobermans and St. Bernards, something like that. Maybe the middle rung. So you have your base card, which is your character. We'll say for right now it's a Chihuahua. And then you get these. You open up a deck and you get a Chihuahua card. That's a fighter, male, female, gives you the height and weight, and then a bionic arm, maybe a I don't know what kind of leg, some mutated leg of some sort, and then maybe you get a tactic card where you get maybe a collar, a pointy collar, or a poison card that you can coat the dog's coat in poison. And so you build. It's not so much you're building a deck to play these different cards. It's you're building a character, and then you get these attack cards. And again, I don't know how this would go, but it would read from top to bottom all the moves. So maybe it was an attack heavy fighting sequence. So it was jab, jab, right hook, jab, defend up, defend down, jab, jab, defend, jab, right down the card. And so you would place your character, and then you would stack up the bionic parts of it that would give you a um final attack points and defense points, speed points. And then I would play my card and you'd play your card, and we would run it down to see who got the most hits. How hits would work, I don't necessarily know how the hits would work, but it would be, oh, I got a jab and then you defend and then you held your guard, so I don't get that point. And then you did a right hook and you held your guard. Like maybe the other player has a really defensive card and they hold their guard a lot more, so your attacks don't go through as much. That's the basic card play without the toy. But then I'm thinking, because this card reader stuff is old technology at this point, I bet it's easy to get your hands on. So you have this little machine, right? And maybe you call that machine the dojo. And you buy your dojo and you have your cards. And you take your cards. And like I said earlier, these are these punch cards where they have information on them. So imagine you buy a card. And I'm also thinking AI is in this somehow, but it's not AI. It's just that idea of something having a brain. So you buy this card and it has this code on the side, and that code details what breed they are, their height, their weight, their gender. You stack the card, it changes the top code so that when you put it in the machine can now read, okay, this is a Chihuahua that is 4.5 pounds with a height of X, and it's a male. And this is an idea I just had a little while ago. I don't know how practical it is. I like the idea that this barcode on the side that is the brain and identification of the character that you have, like, it shouldn't just be here's the dog. It should be here's the dog, but what's its characteristics? Like maybe everybody says Chihuahuas are like little angry dogs. But I don't think all Chihuahuas are really angry dogs. Let's say a majority of them are, but a few are not. Well, what happens when your card, you get a docile Chihuahua card? Somebody else gets like a really angry one. I think you want to feel that uniqueness. So this barcode, it says on it in digital code, in digital information, oh, this Chihuahua is docile. So you plug in rather than having a cartridge, you have these cards and you plug it in and it can read, okay, so this is this dog fighter and these are the attributes that it gets. These are the additional cards, and it's docile. And I'm thinking there's going to be a way that you practice the fighting. I don't like fighting games that much. I mean, I think they're interesting, but the ones that I've played, they're really pretty friggin' hard. I remember Mortal Kombat. And when I got older, I tried to learn it again and I took some more time and I said, wow, this is something you really legitimately have to practice. This is no joke. This isn't like Call of Duty where I can just click a button and run around and shoot. It's a point and click type situation. You have to learn how to play this thing. And I imagine a lot of fighting games. When I see online really crazy popular games, they're often never fighting games. And I totally get it. Because most people just want to sit down and be able to play and be pretty good pretty fast, right? Versus the fighting games, which is you have to spend time and really practice. So you do this, you play it. It already has a character in a way that it's going to operate. And I think it would be cool if you played it a little bit more and you trained it and you had this machine. There was a little gap that was empty section, and that's the rest of the brain. So the dog isn't fully developed. You get it in its rawest, the raw form. And then I would like it to burn deeper into the barcode so that as you're playing with the character or you're playing with the dog and you're training the dog, your level of skill and how you fight. So maybe your dog is docile, but you're really an aggressive fighting gamer type of person. So there's this conflict of interest, and you're training your dog to be really aggressive, even though it isn't, and it adjusts how the dog fights. And I'm thinking how it'll burn in is when you're shipping stuff, when you ship stuff, they make these homemade or these home barcode machines, and they don't use any ink. They burn the barcode into the paper. I'm thinking that would be a really cool way of people say this, that memory is seared into my brain, right? And I thought it's a cool idea, thought on that little phrase where you burn your skill or you burn that card or that character, that trained dog that you have, you burn it onto the card. And then the character fully changes from what it originally was, and you influence the card. Now you've played this, right? You've trained the dog to a certain extent. And I don't know how the machine would be set up exactly or how portable it would be or whatever the situation is, but I would like it to be you and a friend, or you're in a competition with somebody and you guys plug in the cards. And when you fight the friend or you fight somebody else in a competition or something with the card, you don't fight. You train the dog when you're alone. You practice on the machine, you train it up, you build up its brain, you build up the skill. But then when you insert it and you play against somebody else, you just watch the screen and the dogs fight it out themselves. Now, there will be a part where, because in a fight, they do these 1 minute rests. The cut man does his thing. And I think it would be cool if not only during the fight you got to yell commands, which maybe your dog listens to or not, depending on how obedient it is. Like if you have a bulldog, maybe bulldogs are really disobedient, so they don't really listen to their corners versus a what are those shepherd dogs? Whatever. Maybe a shepherd dog is much better at listening to your command. So when you say a command from the corner, it will do that action more often. It has a higher probability of following that command. And then there would be a corner man and there would be a corner section. So you'd have your cards plugged in. They would fight out the first round. Then they come back to the corner and you will have had to practice doing the cut man stuff. And maybe at that point you can even change your card, uh, the bionic parts of the card. So, and I don't know how any of this would be set up, but Your character, your dog was fighting the other dog, and maybe they did a bite attack and they bit the bionic arm of the dog and it damaged the bionic arm. Again, I don't know how it would tell you this, but at that point, the round ends. You take that card out, the bionic arm, and you get the chance to replace it with something else, with a different card. And you go through the 12 rounds, and at the end, somebody wins. And at the end, the card will have had a little bit more burned in. So even when you're not training it, it learns its own lessons from the fights. It would also be cool, and then I get a little too crazy and I've got this idea. I'm going to do this huge thing, but whatever. It's fun to have all those ideas. I was also thinking, at some point, these games are going to get so people are, and it's already happened. Like Evo Online is huge, or Counter Strike. I think there's a lot of gambling and a lot of selling of equipment going on Counter Strike. But games are going to get to the point where it's going to be somebody's full-time job. They're just going to be somehow RuneScape. I remember people selling stuff on eBay from RuneScape when I was a kid. I didn't like RuneScape, but I had friends who were really into it. And I think they would show me, we'd go onto eBay and they would say, look at this. Look, somebody's selling this magic hat for, a couple $100. So it happened a long time ago. And I'd like to push that further where I would like to sell hard wallets and make some sort of a currency where kids or adults are plugging in the currency. They've got their dogfight going on, and then they say, okay, I'm willing to put this much down on my proto pup. And then they fight. You either lose the money or you don't lose the money or you gain the money. And now you see kids, playing with their machines, plugging their stuff in. That might be nice. So I don't know about the ethics or morals there, but I think I would have a lot of fun with my friends. Although I didn't really like fighting my friends. I was always the kid that said, can we play on a team, please? I don't want to I don't want to play Call of Duty and shoot you. I just want to hang out. They were always so hyped to no. Let's do 1v1 and murder each other. That would be best. That's what I want to do. Let's do that for hours. Anyway, I guess maybe this part makes me feel a little bit more detached from it, so I'm not having to attack my friends. It's the proto pup that's doing all the work, and I get to sit back. Anyway, that's an idea I have for a card game of where you're, designing the character more so than the actual fighting. And it's a way of saying, how do you make fighting games a little less skill based? Because people don't want to have skill issues. They don't want why do I suck at this? I suck at this because it's a skill issue. I know if that's my problem, I don't really want to play the game too much anymore. I'm looking to do something else at that point because that's not that much fun. I don't know about it. I don't know. These things take so long to make. It was a big lesson with Oglo. Holy moly. Takes so friggin' long. Yeah, making a game is very challenging. Making a game, but then making something that you have to produce in a physical form is brutal. Brutal. But that's the exciting thing about pushing myself to get Oglo up and running and out there is that once I can maneuver and figure out exactly how the production and distribution of a solid object works, then there's a much larger likelihood that I can say, oh, this is like some somewhat out there idea that really has possibilities because I really know how to make that thing happen and I really know how to get that all going. Wow, I wish that person had left a like. I don't know. I don't know what the future holds. But it's one step at a time. I don't know about you, but I find myself sometimes doing a fantasy that's a really grand fantasy that is very big and somewhat far into the future. And it can become overwhelming at times. Or maybe I just want to do too much. I have a very big fear that I won't get to learn everything. I don't know. I'm the whole army thing. I'm definitely going to push to do the doctor situation. And long term, it is partially because I think, and I can't tell if this is insane or not, but I don't really know how I'm supposed to have the money to be able to make the toy happen ever. And I'm thinking, I mean, saying be a doctor, that's a very long into the future thought, right? But I'm always thinking, well, if I realize at some point that I really cannot get any of this stuff together by myself with the amount of money that I'm given, nobody else is going to finance the toy for me. Nobody else is going to license it. That's obvious. I I would like to do it at some point. So maybe for literally a majority of my life, I just won't be able to, which would suck. But maybe I won't be able to. At least I could get that far. And as long as I stay frugal and I never exceed spending too much, one, by the time I'm there, I'm sure I would have enough money where I would be able to finance the thing. But two, if I get to that point, I would definitely be able to finance something. I mean, if I say to myself, okay, you're just going to continue to live unbelievably frugally, save this money, and now you can use that on, your yearly salary is plenty to make this thing happen. You'll certainly be able to get your toy out. You can, you know, oh, a $20,000 again, the steel mold is a thing for the future. I mean, that's if you need to crank out millions of a part. Even now, I wouldn't need something like that. So the 20,000, I don't need to worry about that. But that would be the situation where you could definitely pay for $20,000 steel mold and have this thing going. Do the do it, make it happen for yourself, and it's not too big of a deal. It sounds really scary though, and a little all over the place, and kind of spending a lot of your life trying to figure this thing out. Spending a lot of your life just focused on, okay, I'm doing this for that. Ugh, that's rough. What about living? Or is that living? Is that my living? I don't know. This has been pretty good. I've had a lot of people pop on and pop off. The title for this video worked really well. I'm the side character of your life, or something like that. Definitely been a side character. No dead air. I had this idea for a game a while ago called Sono. And the premise, okay. The idea came into my head when I was at MEPS for the Army to sign my contract. And at MEPS, there was a hearing test, like you may have had when you were in school as a kid. And you have a button, and they tell you, okay, these are all going to be on the right side. When you hear a sound, click the button. And you're there, really focusing, click, click, click. And now they say, okay, now we're going to do it on the left side. Click, click, click. And a little while later, I thought, that was pretty fun. I was really focused. I want to have the super hearing. And afterwards, talking with the other people there at MEPS, they also said, yeah, I wanted to be, no, maybe I heard that as a joke. Maybe that was a Richard Pryor joke. I think it was. I think it was a Richard Pryor joke saying, yeah, I would always try to do the hearing test. I want to be, super hearing. But I totally got that because I wanted to have the super hearing, right? I wanted them to say, we're going to have to transfer you to the CIA because you have unbelievable here all the way across the world. We need you to live in on this meeting. So that was fun. And I thought, oh, this is a really cool game. I could make this helmet, right? Covers up your eyes, goes around your ears and your head. And they're buttons. Button on this ear, button on this ear. I thought it would be cool to have a button here, 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 and on the back of your head. And the game is listening. And so let's say it starts off easy and it's a really quiet sound. Or it's not quiet sound, it's just regular sound left side. So you click that button. Then it's not loud or soft on right side. So you click that one. Middle volume. Then there's another one where it's middle volume on both ears. So you press both of them. Then there's a soft one that comes from the front left, and you press this button. And then there's a sound that comes from behind back right. So then you click that button. Then there's a soft sound on the front left and a medium sound on the right. And so you have to press them at the same time. And it goes like that until it gets more complicated. And all of a sudden one's really loud, or there's two really loud sounds and then one soft sound, but you couldn't hear the soft sound. So you only pressed those two, and that would be the fail state when you lose. I think that toy has a lot of potential for being super cool. The only problem with it was I couldn't figure out back to the whole, how do you make a new one? I couldn't think of anything for that, but I think that that's a super, super cool idea, and it would look really good on camera where I would put it over my head. And it would be much simpler than, there wouldn't be literal speakers all over the place. It would just be 2 earbuds or 2 headphones. It would basically be a headphone with extra plastic around it. And covering the eyes is very important for the design because it illustrates that it's not about seeing, it's only about hearing. because then the ears would be, I think, bigger purposefully.